Hey everybody, a lot of folks have asked me what's the difference between the controller that is sold by WakeMakers versus the controllers that come on local installs from Go Surf Assist or the one that I've run in my boat. And I refer to them as V1 and V2. So V1 is based on off-the-shelf components from Pololu Robotics. And it has two motor drivers. It has a RF wireless daughter board from Adafruit and an Adafruit GPS module and a Pololu Arduino compatible board here. And it runs version 5.0 of our software that can control two actuators. Has the GPS based automation for removing or raising the tabs when you go above 15 miles per hour. We do not gate, as in automatically raise the tabs when you slow down, because tab based surf systems do not affect the steering of the boat nearly as much as gate based surf systems. And it also makes sense to have the tab down because tabs produce lift in the rear, which pushes your bow down, which helps you get out of the hole. And most tab-based systems from other boat manufacturers, OEM systems, will also do the same, Mastercraft and others. They'll keep the center tab down and the surf tab down when you're in surf mode, even at 0 miles per hour. But so really, these are assembled by WakeMakers in their own enclosure, and they're running the e61 software that was developed by me and a couple of other guys. 30 solder points in here when assembling. You have 10 for the control cable that go in the back here, and then 6 to hook up the wireless, and 6 to hook up the GPS. The wireless, all the remotes on this work. They're not encoded, so you can move remotes between boxes. If you're out on the lake, you could switch someone else's surf tabs if you happen to be in a lake like Louisville, where there's several of these out there. Version 1 of the custom board took this. None of these are in production. This was just an iteration where we have an Arduino micro that sits in a socket here, and then this GPS sits in a socket here, and these same motor driver chips sit here to here. So it really is a single board version of this that runs the same software. And then what we did with version 2, we're at 2.2 now, is move away from the Arduino bootloader entirely and surface mounted our own Atmel processor. And we added the links encoded wireless so that you can program the remotes, and we have support for 3 separate buttons instead of a single button. Those 3 separate buttons can be programmed to replicate the control panel on the dash, so surf left, surf right, reset. They can also be reconfigured to support a number of other functions. Wireless only is the control panel replica, but if you have buttons on the dash and you want to use the wireless to fine-tune the wave remotely while surfing, it can be up and down on the tab for buttons 1 and 3, and then button 2 is reset or switch. And then we also have a different GPS module. It's no better or worse than the one here, but it is far less expensive. And it's also from Lynx Technologies. And then we have 3 motor drivers on this one instead of 2. We have different versions of the software that can control the center tab, and it allows for full center tab automation. So you can add a second dial, or use the dial on the single dial that you've seen on a lot of videos, depending on configuration. And if you use it for center tab automation, it will automatically deploy the center tab down at low speeds, and then once you get to surf speed, it will raise it to wherever you have the dial positioned. Whether it's if it's all the way up, it'll go all the way up. But it automatically always puts the center tab down to give you almost like a proper engine upgrade. It's going to always help you get out of the hole there. And then the surf left and surf right continues to function as the previous versions. Also on this version, you see we have here, see if I can get it to focus on this, but we have extra ground connectors here, and you can connect to two 12-volt triggers. And right now the 12-volt triggers are flashing in unison when you're running the 12-volt trigger version of the software, so that if you attach a buzzer, it will beep 3 times when you're about to switch sides. It'll also run the buzzer when any of the tabs are moving to give you an audible indicator. And then the second one could be connected to an LED light somewhere, either on the transom or up on the surf tower, and that will flash or stay lit in the same manner that the buzzer. And this is configurable in software depending on what functionality you'd like from the trigger. It will work accordingly. And so this is a single board solution. So you can see here we also have a Molex connector that goes in here for the control cable. So we move from 30 solder joints and 4 separate components in the box to a single board with, if you're just using it in the same mode as this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 high side solder joints, and everything else is connected in with the Molex connector when that's installed. And so it's has more functionality, more reliability, and all the software revisions subsequent to 5 are only supported on this board. No more changes on this WakeMakers version. That's it.